I genuinely believe that the invention of YouTube, this platform that you're watching right now, should be as prominent as the invention of the television back in the 1920s and 30s. It's such a phenomenally powerful education tool. You can search the answer to virtually any question, and in seconds, you'll get several 10-minute videos explaining the answer. You can literally become an expert in any subject, any topic, any field, and this entire database of knowledge is available to you completely for free. And if you can utilize this colossal wealth of information, just dipping into it on a daily basis, even just 10 minutes a day, doing this over any set period of time, like 6 months or a year, it will completely change who you are as a person. And I know this firsthand. Over the last 8 years or so, self-education has entirely transformed my life, and it is by far the most powerful productivity hack that I use. Since I started watching YouTube videos, reading non-fiction books, watching documentaries, listening to podcasts on a daily basis, I'm so much more knowledgeable than I ever thought I could be, directly because of self-education. And I'm a completely different person. And this method that I use to make this transformation, and how you can use it too, is what I call the immersion technique. So the immersion technique is most often used with language learning, right? So when someone is learning French, for example, it makes sense that they watch French films, right? Or they listen to French audiobooks, or they read the French news, they communicate with French people. And although this technique is common in the language learning space, it's often overlooked in the self-education space. I started using the immersion technique completely by accident, honestly. I didn't realize it would completely change the course of my life. I remember it was around 2013, 2014, and I set a goal for myself. Just consume 2 hours a day of educational content. It could be about business, it could be about psychology, about personal development, about productivity, whatever, as long as it was educational. And I made this into a daily habit. And I remember I just had this huge desire within me to learn. I wanted to read books, to listen to audiobooks, to watch YouTube videos, to listen to podcasts, to read journals and research papers, to read blogs, because I started to realize that in order to become the person that I wanted to become, in order to be a successful person, I guess, I needed to harness the power of self-education. And that is exactly what I did. So this way of learning is so powerful in the same way that we learn languages. It works because that's the way you learn your own language. When you're a baby and you're just learning how to talk, you don't try to learn the language your parents are speaking. It just kind of happens naturally because you're surrounded by it. So it makes sense also that if you surround yourself with whatever it is that you want to excel in, whether it's productivity, business, personal development, nutrition, fitness, whatever it is, self-education will help you move the needle forward faster than almost anything else. And that transformational process, it does take time, but it's kind of about chipping away, just making hundreds of very small changes throughout the year. And I talk more about it in far more detail in my Transform Your Grades course. If you're a student and struggling with your grades like I was, and you're feeling unmotivated and uninspired, or maybe you're struggling with chronic procrastination, I go through step by step how I was able to completely turn my grades around and completely turn my life around using self-education and a few other really powerful strategies. There are lectures, there are worksheets, exercises, quizzes, a private community, bonus lectures, basically everything you need to take your studying and your life to the next level. We've been running the course now for just over a year, and in that time we've had hundreds of students enroll, graduate, and completely transform their own grades. And we're currently running a massive 64% discount. You can go to projectelon.com/transformyourgrades, or you can click on the link in the description below. So, to this day, I still use the immersion technique every single day, but what I've done now is I've kind of adapted it a bit to make it significantly more powerful, and I call this the immersion technique version 2. So I realized that whenever I listen to, let's say, a 2-hour podcast, I might just actually remember and process about 8 what I call golden nuggets of information, the small chunks of information that really kind of resonate with you, that are actually impactful. And out of this 8 golden nuggets of information, I'll remember long term about 4 of them. Because as time passes, naturally you forget things, right? So what if I could create a database where I store all these golden nuggets, and over a period of, let's say, a few years, I essentially have this massive database of the most important nuggets of information that I've learned over the last few years. And then I can read through and recap and refresh that information periodically, let's say once a month, so I literally never forget that information. And that's exactly what I've done. I call it the knowledge bank, and it's a very simple table in Notion where I have 4 columns. The review column, which I can tick and untick, and this column is helpful for when I review the information at the end of the month to keep track of what I have learned and what I haven't yet learned. The second column is the headline, so I put the most important information here in just one summarized sentence. The third column is what area in my life it kind of relates to, and the fourth column is the source in case I want more context or to kind of reread or rewatch or re-listen to the original source. And if I want to know more information, or if I have more knowledge that I want to kind of record, then when I click on the line, it opens up and I can write down as much information and as much context as I want. I'm really interested in making my life as productive and efficient as possible, including my learning processes. And I was thinking about this a few months ago, actually how much useful, really important information I've learned but I've then forgotten. So essentially the immersion technique version 2 combined with the knowledge bank is a strategy that I've been using for a good few months now to help retain those golden nuggets of information for longer, and it has been absolutely invaluable. And that leads me to the second point, why our current education system sucks. Now, I could make an entire video on this, but I'm just gonna kind of touch upon it here. If you want to get ahead of the competition, whether it's in your career, your university degree, whatever it is, you really should be harnessing the power of self-education, because formal education such as school and university, it will allow you to become slightly above average at best, because everyone is learning the same information in the same way. To be exceptional, you need to do things that most other people are not doing, and learning things that most other people are not learning, right? Billionaire entrepreneur Peter Thiel's book 0 to 1 calls this stage the tournament, and according to the book, the tournament is designed to focus more on being a competition as opposed to making people successful. So grades exist to be exact measurements of how well a student can memorize a given batch of information. The problem with this is that the skills required to succeed in the tournament are often not the skills required to succeed in life. And this is not new information. Entrepreneur and motivational speaker Jim Rohn once said, "Formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune." Even Mark Twain in the late 1800s was reported to have said, "I've never let my schooling interfere with my education." Another advantage to informal learning, so learning by yourself using tools like YouTube or podcasts or books, etc., is that you can be taught by the best in the world. At school and university, you're unlikely to have the world's best teachers, right? But by educating yourself, you have access to literally the greatest that have ever lived. The overarching idea is that you can increase your value by making yourself a rare commodity, right? So doing things that very few other people are doing and learning things that very few other people are learning. So even if just one person stops watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians and replaces it with, let's say, a documentary, or spends that time reading instead, then this video has been a success. Because for me, the desire to learn and to become more knowledgeable, genuinely, no exaggeration, it has changed my life. And looking back, I'm not sure if anything else has changed my life to the extent that self-education has. And if you are interested in starting or boosting your own self-education journey, then I really do recommend you watch a video that I uploaded recently called How to Absorb Everything You Read. It's where I go over a really powerful speed learning framework, and if you combine self-education with speed learning, you'll be unstoppable, honestly. Alternatively, if the problem you have is focus because you keep getting distracted, then I also made a video called How I Work 12 Hours a Day with 100% Focus. Again, you can click on the card on the screen to watch that, and whichever video you choose, I'll see you over there.